Hey everyone, Evan Freiberger here. Just gonna go ahead and say good morning to everybody. Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful morning out there, and yeah, comment down below how your morning has gone so far. I'm sure it has hopefully been good, but also cold at this point. If you've walked your dog or gone outside at all, if you live pretty much anywhere in the country. In this forecast, we're going to be going over the first storm that's going to be impacting the Northeast, but also going into a lot more detail on our next storm that's coming. We could be talking about big snow impacts, big time severe weather, and also some very gusty winds with this next storm. So we're going to kind of break down just initially what the models are saying. Is still a little bit far out, but we're going to give you a good kind of breakdown of what the models are saying today about this storm. So let's go ahead and get into it. So this is the broad view here. You can see we got our first storm that's going to be going off to the east here, entering into Kansas, going into Missouri and Arkansas, maybe dropping a little trace amount of snow there, moving off into the Ohio Valley, potentially dropping some snow, a little bit of snow there for Illinois, going into Indiana, Ohio, over there to the northeast. A longer band of snow is going to get started there, and then that's going to move off to the east, where it kind of stalls out for a little bit and builds in strength as it drops its last bit of snow over there near Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut, and then put your eyes down here. We're going to be talking a lot more about this new storm that's going to be coming. Definitely heavier snowfall is going to be possible. Some of the heaviest snow that a lot of places have seen in this region. So make sure if you live anywhere in the Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, Missouri, Iowa, going up into Wisconsin, Indiana, and Illinois, and also Michigan, you're going to want to pay attention to this next storm. But pushing this through, you can see that heavy snow is going to kind of get started here on Monday evening, then pushing into Missouri there in Iowa and Illinois by Monday night, going into Monday morning. Got a really heavy band of snow that could move from Illinois into Indiana and into Wisconsin. And then on the backside, as the storm strengthens and becomes a little bit more of a severe weather threat, we start to see more snow on the western side of this. I mean, you can see that's a very heavy band of snow parking there in Arkansas, Missouri, going all the way up into Michigan there, with a little bit of snow picking up over here in Pennsylvania. But again, we're going to get a lot of rain on the backside, so that snow's not going to stick around for too long, and if anything, could melt some of the snow that came on this last storm. So with this next storm coming up, make sure that you enjoy the snow while it's there. But yeah, this moves off to the east, and that heavy band of snow continues through into Wednesday morning, and then kind of lifts out of the country, at least according to this model, by Wednesday evening here. And then after that, we'll have to see what happens. But first, what we're going to do in order to understand this next storm that's going to be coming into the country, we have to kind of finish up here on what will probably be one of my last forecasts before we go into live coverage with the current storm that is going to be coming into the Northeast. So let's go over to here, kind of check out what's happening down at the surface, a little bit closer with this first storm that's coming through. Again, we're going to have the snow happen, starting off here early morning Friday, moving into Friday evening or Friday afternoon. You can see that snow kind of dissipates as it moves into Arkansas and into Missouri, and then starts to pick up back up over there near Illinois, and then moving over to the Great Lakes. You can see that moves into Indiana and into Ohio after that, West Virginia, pretty much throughout the morning hours of Saturday. Going into the afternoon hours is when that snow starts to pick up there in the mountains of West Virginia, going into Pennsylvania, dropping some heavier snow amounts Saturday at around 6 p.m. And then that moves into the Northeast here near Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts as we start to get into that late night period there of Saturday, going into Sunday morning. Then look at this on the backside. Just quite a bit of snow is just going to be lingering on the backside, and then with a little bit of lake effect snow after it moves off of the country Monday morning. So timing is still pretty much on the same track here with this storm, and then a little bit further up there near Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. You can see that snow is going to get started right around Sunday morning here, very early early Sunday morning, going to stick mainly in the mountains and then work its way down into the lower elevations as we get into Sunday evening. And then Maine's not going to really get too much out of this, according to the model. So maybe if you live on the extreme southern portion of Maine, you could get some snow accumulation there. All right, now moving on to the snowfall amounts, mainly focusing here in the Ohio Valley up into Wisconsin and Michigan. You can see that starting off in Illinois could potentially still get that 1 to 2 inches there in central Illinois. 1 to 2 inches is expected for most of Indiana, with the exception of southern Indiana. Really not expecting too much accumulation there. And then over here near Ohio, got another 2 to 3 inch spot here. So a little bit more snow there on the NAM 12K for Ohio. GFS has that snow in Ohio going a little bit further to the south, and the snow remaining over here for central and northern Indiana going up into southern Michigan. It's been pretty consistent on that. And then Illinois is getting a little bit more snow on the southern side of this. So that's a little interesting. A little bit of uptick there on the GFS. The national blend of models is just not buying it right now. The averages of all these models are showing not a whole lot of snow for the Ohio Valley, maybe a dusting to an inch. So have this be your most conservative, then have the NAM probably be the most bullish here, with the GFS taking a little bit of a middle ground. Now, coming over to the Northeast, you can see that there's still a lot of snow to come here. We've potentially got up to 10 inches along this entire strip, going from Pennsylvania into New Jersey, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts there on the eastern side. And this is according to the NAM 12K. The GFS is agreeing pretty well, with a little bit less there for Pennsylvania, but then it picks back up going into Pennsylvania, into New Jersey, going into Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts. The national blend of models, though, is a lot more conservative, as it usually is. So have this be, the most conservative value here, but potentially 4 to 5 inches across New York, going into Pennsylvania, with the main area of the most snow happening in eastern New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, there in the mountains of Vermont and New Hampshire, and then southern Maine there. So next thing we're going to do is look at the next storm that's going to be coming. And this is going to be starting on Monday. As you can see, we have this little low pressure system over here near New Mexico. So that's going to push up into the panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma. And we're going to start to see that heavy band of snow start to pick up there going into Monday evening, Monday afternoon here. And that's going to be really spreading from Texas all the way up into Kansas and Nebraska, pushing this even further into 6 p.m. on Monday. According to the GFS, we could have a pretty heavy band of snow over here for Missouri, going into southern Iowa and Nebraska, with still some lingering snow on the backside for Oklahoma and Texas. And then pushing this through, we get another little area here of some stronger and heavier snow here going into Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri. And then this is when Arkansas is going to get their shot here for some more snow. And that's going to be Tuesday afternoon. And you can see really all the way from eastern Oklahoma going through northern Arkansas, Missouri, and into Illinois, a pretty heavy band of snow. And then that kind of exits the region here. Really, look at that. For Illinois there. If this really happens like this, that's going to be a lot of snow, but we'll have to see. Models will change as we get close to this, so just keep that in mind. These are preliminary values. They are going to shift around different locations, and you're going to have different amounts of snow that's going to pop up. It could go up, could go down, so just keep that in mind. Take all of this information with a grain of salt. Models will change. But yeah, so that's what we're expecting going into Wednesday, and then pushing this all the way through onto this model. You can see that snow is going to pick up there in Illinois, and then that's going to move off into Indiana and then Michigan, and then this biggest area of snow, probably the most prolific and strongest area of snow, where we're going to have those winds and the snow at the same time. That's going to be moving into Illinois and then Indiana, probably around Wednesday morning. Yeah, Wednesday morning. And then going into Wednesday afternoon, this thing is going to lift off to the north. And now moving off to the northeast, again, we're going to have a little bit of snow with this storm going into Tuesday evening and then Wednesday morning. And that's going to travel from Pennsylvania all the way up into Vermont. But for the most part, this is going to be a lot of rain and very strong winds with this storm. Potentially could get up into those 50, 60 mile per hour wind gusts, which is still pretty preliminary. So again, those could change. I'm just telling you what the models are saying can right now. But yeah, it could be a very impactful storm for a lot of people out there, especially along the coast. Could get a scenario where we have those 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts right up the coast again, like we had with a storm similar to a storm that we had in the past very recently. And now going over to the first preliminary look here at the snowfall totals. Again, these are going to shift around a lot. I mean, just look how much they shift around between models, okay? So you can tell there's a lot of disagreement, and then one of these models is going to become king here pretty much, and then that's going to be the estimated amount of snowfall you will actually get. But for right now, I would say the GFS is definitely the most bullish model here, dropping up to 15 inches there for Kansas. Over here in Missouri, have a big old strip of 14, 16, 16 inches going up into Illinois as well. I do think this is quite bullish. This is like pretty much the worst case scenario with this storm. The middle ground here is the Euro, with widespread 5 to 9 inches going all the way from Illinois down into Nebraska, Kansas, a little spot there in St. Louis, maybe a little bit of agreement on the models there of around 10 inches. They're kind of just to the west of St. Louis there in Missouri. And the national blend of models, it's just the averages of all the models. It's coming in not hot. It's coming in cold. Not a whole lot of snow there in Missouri, and not looking particularly too much of a dangerous storm. Kind of looking like a fun day, if you ask me, for snow there. So could be, some pretty big differences in the models here for the next few days as we get closer to this event. And as we get closer, things will get a little bit easier to figure out what exactly is going to happen with this storm. But yeah, just gonna have to wait and see. But those are the preliminary numbers there for the Southern Plains going up into the Ozarks. Now coming up to the Great Lakes regions, you can see that as the storm moves out to the north, there is some snow potential over there for Indiana and Michigan. Potentially, the GFS again is the most bullish. So just remember that this is the worst case scenario here. We have around a foot of snow here for Indiana, and then about a foot, maybe even a foot and a half strip there of snow in Michigan, with tapering down as you go further up to the north and further to the south. And it looks like this storm, at least with the latest model, is going to skip right over Ohio again. So hopefully not. You guys are really dying for some snow down there, but yeah, let's go check out the Euro. The Euro likes Ohio a little bit more here, and does not like Illinois or Indiana. Well, I guess if you don't want major impacts from the storm, maybe it does like you. But it looks like there's a little bit of agreement here between the Euro and the GFS for those heavy snow amounts over here in Michigan. Not so much in terms of heavier snow amounts in Illinois going into Indiana, but Ohio, could potentially get between those 5 and 6 inches according to the Euro. The national blend of models, though, says screw you, Ohio, and I am loving over here near Wisconsin and Illinois, Indiana. And look, a little bit of agreement there. That's picking up on all models, even though we're pretty far out here. There's a decent amount of agreement there for a lot of snow there in Michigan. So definitely have to keep an eye, see how that trend shifts. But for everywhere else, you can tell, just looking at your area, your state, and then comparing and contrasting, there's some pretty big differences here between the models. So a lot to work out as we get closer. But one thing is certain, this storm is looking pretty intense as it comes through, because not only do we have snow, we also have severe weather as well. First, what we're going to do is look at the tomorrow's severe weather outlook. We do have a 2% for tornadoes out there, mainly down near Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, there in the southern portions of those states, and then the northwestern portion of Florida there. And then wind, we're talking about a 5% chance of damaging winds. Not too impactful there, but definitely have a way to get alerts just in case you get one of those rare spin ups that happen over the ocean and then track over land. Coming over to our day 2 outlook, we have a marginal risk over here in Florida, and that is another 2% tornado risk with this. And then the damaging winds with this is also going to be there. We're not expecting a hail threat with it. So small marginal day. Again, same thing as the day before. Just make sure you have alerts just in case you get one of those rare warnings. Not really talking about a high caliber day at all going into tomorrow and the next day. But next, what we're going to do is check over here to our day 5. But probably by the time you see this forecast, it's going to be day 4 here. But we still have these slight risks here with a new slight risk, just in case you don't know, has been added for Florida, Georgia, and portions there of Alabama. So definitely make sure that you're paying attention to future forecasts as these events get closer, because some of these days could be pretty high caliber. We're not going to go too much into detail just yet. Want to wait until we get a little bit closer before we do that. But one thing we will do is come over to Radar Omega here and kind of just give an overview of what to expect with these two marginal areas that are going to be happening starting on the 5th at 9 a.m. So that's going to be tomorrow. And as the storm is snowing up there to the north, we're going to have some storms down here, but to the south, moving into Baton Rouge by around 3 p.m., New Orleans and Mobile by 6 p.m., according to the HRRR. And then Tallahassee could get some rain there by 11 p.m. Mobile's getting another round of storms there by 1 a.m. And then that moves off to the east. And then we start to see some even stronger storms over here near Tampa, Orlando. That could be a damaging wind threat, maybe a small tornado threat with that. But the instability really doesn't pick up for Florida until we get down to southern Florida. So Port St. Lucie, maybe just north of Cape Coral, where we could have the highest tornado threat, but still relatively low with this storm. So just keep that in mind as we get closer and closer to this. And this is going to be happening at around 12 p.m. here on the 6th. So we have the storms move through on the 5th down here. And then going into the 6th, it starts to move into Florida in the morning there for Orlando, and then pushes into southern Florida by around 12 p.m. and then works its way down to the south before dissipating by around 5 p.m. there. But yeah, that's it for my forecast. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this forecast, and I will see you guys on the next one.